and a 3-point advantage. But you still don't feel, even with a 3-point cushion, that the Koreans have really started to stamp their authority on this match. I still very much feel it's anybody's game here.
No, not at all. This is very, very open second game, and tactically very, very interesting. As I say, Lee Hyundai in the rear court is finding good angles and good variety in the rear court. Still very, very difficult to get through with the attack.
Different intensity, that rally.
Well, it looks as though Rexy, the Malaysian coach, wants a little more urgency from his pair, because the tempo of that rally certainly went up.
The luck of the net cords with Lee Hyundai.
One or two against them in the first game. He was evening themselves out.
It's interesting to me the Koreans have stayed on court. Well, the court was mopped at the Malaysian side. Both the Malaysian players going off for a towel down. Take on board some liquid. Indication, I think, of the mindset of the Koreans. They feel they're on a bit of a run at the moment. They want to keep that going. Indeed they are. It's 5 straight points.
14-8. Serve is over. 9-14.
Oh, he's dropped his racket. Oh, I don't believe it. He's gone off to change his racket. He's got another racket. He's come back on. And they've won the rally. That is absolutely extraordinary. Initially, he bumped into his partner. He dropped his racket. Yeah, the Koreans can laugh about it now.
15-9.
Off he goes, changes his racket, comes back on. What on earth were the Malaysians thinking about to smash wide of the court when one of your opponents has just dashed off the court? It's all happening here, Ian.
It is very difficult to predict what's going to happen point to point. That's good men's, more traditional men's doubles there. Super serve to the tee. Anticipating the push to the forehand.
16-9.
Koreans have just won 7 of the last 8 points.
17-9.
And that's called good. The service. Line judge indicating in. The umpire doesn't like the fact that Koo questioned that.
the last few points as well, Julia. It's been Koo making some errors.
18,
Something we've asked before,
9.
but if there is one player on court physically that maybe isn't as fit as the others, it's probably Koo.
Yeah, and they're trying to work him. Koo, I think, has given up on this second game. Look, not even trying.
I think that the period where they were happy to defend at the beginning of this first game just gave the initiative a little bit to the Korean pair, I think.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely astonishing from 9-8 up. The Koreans now on 10 of the next 11 points. I have to say, Ian, I don't like to see this.
No, I don't.
I know it's difficult, or incredibly difficult, to win from this sort of deficit, a 10-point deficit, but seeing players just basically trying to give away the second game, want to conserve their energy for the third, I really don't like to see it at all.
But it's the mindset and the loss of intensity. I think it's very difficult to switch on and off at this level. I'm afraid the Malaysians have really, early on in the second game, where they were just happy to defend, I think they lost their rhythm, they lost their tactical play, and they just haven't been able to get it back. Bit of an effort after the mid-game interval to up the tempo, and it didn't work. And
there's the second game to Jung Jae-sung and Lee Yong-dae, the defending champions.
Second game won by Jung Jae-sung, Lee Yong-dae, 21-9.
Umpire confirming the score. 12 of 13 points against the number 2 seeds. Well, there was me at the mid-game interval saying, don't yet feel that the Koreans were stamping their authority on it. How wrong was I? That's why we got you here, Ian. The expert view.
Well, the 2 points after the break were very interesting, because obviously Rexy asked the Malaysians to up the tempo again because they'd gone very, very passive, and they upped the tempo for 2 points. It didn't work for them, and suddenly they were lost. And there was a big run of points against them. Then they tried to make out they weren't trying, but it's that loss of intensity before the mid-game break which I think has cost them.
It's almost as if you could pinpoint a rally where it just goes.
Yeah, very clearly, yeah. And we said it right at the beginning of the match. The question mark over the Malaysians is whether they can match the intensity for the length of the match. And I have to say, in that second game, they didn't match the intensity of the Korean players, because they were playing just as well, if not better, than the Korean players in the first game. I think a concerted effort at the start of the second game, and they could have been well in control of this match to win it in 2 games. Pressure should have been on the Koreans, having lost the first game.
Court 3, 20 seconds. Court 3, 20 seconds.
So the big question is whether the Malaysian pair can switch on their intensity